And this is probably one of the most important verses in the whole thing. As we heard from the first two verses, the 6 pushes that must be controlled and directed towards spiritual activity. And we also heard the 6 things that take away from our bhakti. Now, these are the 6 things that one must adopt in order for bhakti to flourish, develop. And this is all coming as a scientific analysis of the process of bhakti by Srila Rupa Goswami. So I'll read the 3rd verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Utsaha Nishchaya Darya Tatta Karma Pravartanat Sangatyaga Sato Rikte Sadbir Bhakti Prashidati. There are 6 principles favorable for the execution of pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, endeavoring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5, abandoning the association of non-devotees, so it comes up again. And 6, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of bhakti, pure devotional service. Prabhupada begins, devotional service is not a matter of sentimental speculation or imaginative ecstasy. Its substance is practical activity. Srila Rupa Goswami mentions in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that Uttama or unalloyed devotion unto the Supreme Personality involves the rendering of devotional service that is favorable to the Lord. This devotional service should be free from extraneous motive and devoid of fruit of karma, impersonal gyan, and other selfish desires. Bhakti is sort of a cultivation. As soon as we say cultivation, we refer to activity. So here, when you say cultivation, you're more or less preparing for a particular type of activity in a certain way. This cultivation of spirituality doesn't mean sitting down idly for meditation as some pseudo-yogis teach. Such idle meditation may be good for those who have no information of devotional service, and for this reason is sometimes recommended as to check distracting material activities. Meditation means stopping all nonsensical activities, at least for the time being. Devotional service, however, not only puts an end to nonsensical mundane activities, but also engages one in meaningful devotional activities. Okay, so the first principle that Rupa Goswami mentions is utsahan, enthusiasm, and that is to engage in practical activities under the guidance of the spiritual master who is giving that knowledge based on scripture. So practically speaking, sometimes people get a conception of what enthusiasm is based by some kind of defined experience. But enthusiasm is simple. There's 2 words that make up enthusiasm. To endeavor with intelligence. It's that simple. To perform an activity based on the knowledge given according to scripture. In other words, to act in a particular way according to the activity. Intelligence is the feature of discrimination, Intelligence is the feature of determination. Both of these things make up the intelligence. So applying a discriminating principle means to understand how to do something and how not to do something. So how to do it or how should be performed is usually taking the guidance of the instructions of the spiritual master, the saints that have gone before us, and even the words of Shastra or the words of Krishna. So I'll read something. This is from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. A genuine enthusiasm observing the devotional activities is one of invariable virtues necessary to strengthen our devotion towards Bhagavan. One who is indifferent, so here's the antidote or the opposite. One who is indifferent to his real upliftment and hence reluctant to practice all that is conducive to rise to bhakti meets only with hordes of tremendous difficulties in the path. So one has to actively apply their intelligence to devotional service. It's not a lackadaisical attitude or an indifferent kind of an aloof type thing. It's really thinking and acting according to the instructions given to the spiritual master in an enthusiastic way. Enthusiasm, they also say sometimes, enthusiasm is such an important principle that even from material life, it destroys all obstacles also in material life too. But particularly for devotee, enthusiasm pushes one forward on the path of devotional service. Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes, enthusiasm is the observance of prescribed regulative principles. Prescribed religious principles, and a very convenient factor in building up bhakti towards the Lord. So understand those religious practices and then build on that. In the absence of genuine enthusiasm, so when you're not enthusiastic, a lethargy, indifference, desperation, and other such despicable qualities dominate over us. Laziness is the worst enemy to religious practice. When Prabhupada was talking to devotees, one devotee said, is laziness is in the mode of ignorance? Prabhupada said, no, it's lower. Because there's no such thing as lower. Nobody likes a lazy person. You don't even like yourself if you're lazy. Even in the material world, it's one of the worst things you can be. People will just reject you. Laziness is Prabhupada, the devotees ask, laziness is a demoniac quality. Prabhupada said, no, he said it's even lower than that. So it's one of the worst enemies to spiritual life is laziness, which is characteristic about indifference towards the activities of devotional service. If an aspirant allows this evil, laziness, the slightest scope, it will take undue advantage and ruin him totally. Reluctance and lack of endeavor in observing devotional practices makes us victims of this evil agent. An oak tree is not felled by one blow is a very wise proverb. Lack of confidence in himself and consequently his efforts create desperation in him. An aspirant on the path of bhakti should never fall victim to this discouraging factor. Must rise above this. Persons who are given to various desires are asked to follow the path of karma by bhagavad. In other words, if you can't do bhakti for whatever reason, then at least follow the path of karma yoga. Those who have a spirit of renunciation and the daily and occasional activities that are prescribed in Shastras should necessarily follow the path of knowledge. That means the Gyanis. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying those who cannot take up bhakti for whatever should take up at least karma yoga or even jnana yoga. At least they can elevate themselves to some. And by doing that and getting some success in that elevation, they may also see the benefits of performing bhakti and become inspired to take up bhakti. Due to some unknown divine virtues in the past, those persons who have ingrained in them a strong faith in the glories and deeds of Lord Sri Krishna should invariably follow the path of devotion or the path of bhakti. They too may be indifferent to observance of the daily and occasional duties, but they adopt these principles that are favorable for the growth of bhakti. So again, when we analyze the process of bhakti, there's things that are favorable and things that are unfavorable. We have to learn what is unfavorable, because if we make mistakes or do the things that take away the effects of our positive activities in bhakti, the process is very slow, very, very slow, and sometimes it doesn't even move. So knowing what to avoid, and laziness is one of the things. Of course, that's mentioned here strongly. Those who are eligible for the path of bhakti are not extremely attached to the results of their actions. Without the physical body, the practice of devotional service in the mortal plane is an impossibility. As such, however unwelcome they may be, a certain amount of activity is unavoidable in the material world. Since aspirants after devotion should work for their livelihood, though with reluctance, and worship the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna with intense bhakti to him. So what he's saying is that we can be indifferent and somewhat, what we say, what's the word he uses here? Reluctant for our activities in the material world, but still we do it. We take care of our material responsibilities, but in a more detached way. But bhakti cannot be performed like that. Bhakti is alive. It's something the mind, the intelligence, and the senses all have to be activated in the direction of the instructions of the spiritual master, with the desire to offer that activity to Krishna in devotion. That is the essence of bhakti. So it takes determination to stay on the practice of bhakti, even though we may have a enthusiasm. There will be obstacles. There may even be reverses, but these things are not things that throw one off the path unless we succumb to these things. Therefore, one has to practice this other element called it's called nishchaya, which means confidence or determination, like that. Srila Prabhupada in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he poses a question. And he says, some people say bhakti is difficult, and others say bhakti is easy. And you'll hear that. You'll hear both. Scriptures will also say both. So then he poses the question, what is it? Is it easy or is it difficult? Let's see what kind of response we get here. How many of you say it's difficult? Okay. Okay, and how many of you say it's easy? Only one. Two. Well, Prabhupada said, if you have determination, it's easy. No determination, it's difficult. So that's the factor that makes the difference. If you're determined, it becomes easy following the principles that cultivate the mood of determination. So what is that? What is determination anyway? Determination is a feature of the intelligence and means to use your intelligence to apply the principles of bhakti and work in that way to serve. And now you might say, well, yeah, determination is nice. I can understand that, but I have no determination. So, what Prabhupada said to them when the devotee said this, excuse the statement, but this is from Srila Prabhupada, says, if you have no determination, you're an animal. That's what he said. And so, because the animals cannot have determination. If you see an animal, you break a stick and they run in the other direction. But human beings can use their intelligence to analyze the situation and then move forward with proper understanding and not let these so-called obstacles, blocks, reverses become deterrents or ways by which we slow down or give up our bhakti. So determination is there. So then what is determination? It's a feature of the will. And there's a thing called an affirmation. And the word affirmation means you decide to do something and then you make plans on how to do it, even before you begin. So, and by doing that, you develop the mood of determination, just like you see sometimes in the material world. There was one boy we knew in college. He was coming to our classes. This was in Mumbai. We were giving classes to one university. It was JJ Medical College in Mumbai. And the boy decided to drop out of our classes because he was in the last year of medical school. And he said, I want to graduate tops in my class, not second, first. And so he dropped out of our group and he spent, I guess, whatever time was left before graduation studying and focusing completely on his studies. And he came in first in the school. There's more to the story, but that's the essence of the point that I wanted to make. So we see sometimes if a person wants to do something and they really want to do it, then it gets done. Prabhupada said, I was determined to spread Krishna consciousness, but I was always afflicted by so many difficulties in trying to express, even within the society, to get the cooperation and this of the devotees that he was mentoring to and guiding was one of the biggest things. And what to speak of the outside resistance that Prabhupada had from various groups and parents of devotees and so many obstacles Prabhupada had. Prabhupada said, I had to walk through fire to spread this movement. He said, I didn't look left, I didn't look right, I just went straight ahead. But he depended on Krishna, and Prabhupada uses it. Prabhupada was very intelligent. He knew how to do things, both in the material sense. Sometimes a person who takes up spiritual life in a very determined way, they're not always so good, or you might say expert at working with the material energy. And Prabhupada could do that. He was expert at how to use his intelligence and pushing for Krishna, despite Krishna consciousness, despite all of the obstacles that came from society, from people, agencies. So Prabhupada had to really work hard, but he was determined. He was determined, and obviously, he was so successful that when he left, the movement continued. A lot of times when a great soul leaves, the movement goes down. Of course, we had some difficulties after he left, but we had all of his instructions and guidance how to overcome these difficulties. And the devotees were also determined to continue. So this quality here is those treading the path of devotion must have settled convictions regarding the path they are pursuing and the final attainment. Till we are confident of the method and the results it would offer, we are under the influence of doubts. If an aspirant falls prey to doubts, he's lost. Krishna mentions that in the fourth chapter. For the doubting soul, there's neither happiness in this world or in the next. He was ignorant of the true knowledge of relationships and lacks badly in faith for the performance of nishkarm karma, is overcome by feelings of hesitation and meets with destruction. To a skeptic, there is no shining future. He never succeeds in attaining happiness either in this world or in the next. Had a strong belief in the statement of the scriptures without the least possible doubt in it is indispensably necessary for the growth of devotion. Yasya Devi Parabhaktya Yata Devi Tata Guru Tasyaita Kartita Vyata Prakasanadma Mahatmanaha. Now, this verse is from the Sveta-Sotarakara Upanishad. It's a very strong verse. It says, one who has not faith, but implicit faith, the word implicit is there. That faith that's not movable. And both Guru and Shastra, all the imports of all Vedic knowledge automatically come into the heart of that devotee. Even if they're not so well versed in the scriptures, still, if they have that unbreakable faith, automatically they gain the knowledge they need to move forward in devotional service. It comes by way of Krishna within the heart. So implicit faith is really a powerful force that drives one to success. How do you develop implicit faith? And then that's another thing. By hearing scriptures, by reading scriptures, by associating with devotees who are fixed in that knowledge, and of course taking part enthusiastically in the activities of bhakti, such as hearing, chanting, and worshiping like that. Okay. So this, and patience is another essential and favorable quality that is needed for every aspirant in devotion. Patience and perseverance will overcome mountains. We are severely disappointed and nonplussed due to want of patience. Those who lack this quality are undone. They do not prosper in any time. By the influence of patience, an aspirant for devotion gains perfect control of himself, and finally the entire world bows to him. Such a glorious quality, patience. Read something more on this characteristic of patience here. I'm expert at forgetting things. It's good to be expert in certain things, but not that one. Anyway, so patience. I'm covering these three today. Let's see. Patience is that enthusiasm has a tendency to push you in a certain direction. But if you don't have patience, after a while, your enthusiasm will wane and will become less. Krishna wants to see how serious you are. Anybody can be serious for 1 hour, or 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. But Krishna wants to see how serious you are. And so sometimes he withholds some of the mercy that you will get eventually in due course of time when he sees that you're willing to stay engaged in his service despite whatever difficulties you perform. So bhakti is a test. It's a test to see how much we really want Krishna and how much we want to give up the things of this world in order to get Krishna. So this patience is there, and patience is glorious. Prabhupada gives an example, a material example. He says a man and a woman get married, and so they are married, but where's the child? Hasn't come yet. So they have all the ingredients are there for the child to come, but still there's a time period. So, of course, that patient means they wait and follow the process, and after some time, a child will appear. So that takes patience. There may be eagerness on the part of the parents for a child, but still there is a time period before it comes. So all good things come in time. All good things come in time. Bhakti is not cheap. Because if you get bhakti, you get Krishna. If you get Krishna, you get everything. So that element of enthusiasm must be coupled with this quality of patience to keep us active in devotional service. Otherwise, we'll become somewhat, what we say, it's like a firecracker. You know, you go for a while, it's called on again, off again. Wow, this Krishna consciousness is so nice. Ah! You're jumping up and down. Oh, the prasadam's nice, the devotees are nice, and kirtan, huh? But after a few weeks, let me try something else. So this kind of mood of just going up, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, something's not there, and you think, oh, well, then you lose your enthusiasm, and then ultimately you become less and less active. So no, it's not like that. I mean, it takes cultivation of knowledge, applying the knowledge in a practical way to activity. When it's done that way, gradually you make progress. And devotees can see that. You can all reflect, where were you last year at this time? And where are you now? Obviously, it becomes apparent you've made progress. If you just reflect back and see yourself a year ago, you usually can see, oh, I'm still in Krishna consciousness, I'm still serving, I'm still active, I'm still enthusiastic. Yes, you've made progress. Sometimes it's not so apparent, but many times if you think and you can see, you start developing certain good qualities that weren't there in the previous years like that. It continues to grow and grow and grow. Sometimes we get in leaps and bounds. All of a sudden we make quick advancement. But these things are rare. Usually the process is gradual. The process is gradual. But it works if you follow very carefully. And at every step, there is the principle of understanding where you are and where you need to go, as long as we stay in contact with this knowledge coming from Guru and Scripture. Sometimes devotees ask, well, how do I know I'm making advance? Well, there's two things which are distinct but are also very much related. You're making advancement by how much you're losing your attraction for material activities. Some people get scared. oh no, I have to go to work. I used to love my work. Now it's, oh God, I can't stand it. Start, you start. I hope I'm not scaring anybody away here, but I'm just giving you a little forerun that material life starts to lose its taste and spiritual life gains its taste. You become more eager for associating with devotees, more eager to take part in the activities, more eager for everything that is connected with devotional service. It becomes natural. Becomes natural. And then your material life starts losing its flavor. Therefore, it says here, we don't give up the responsibilities that come in material life, but we perform them in a less enthusiastic way. More like it's done as a responsibility. Just like, excuse the example, but you have to, evacuate. So you go, you do it because it's necessary. If you don't, you could die. But you do it because it's part of life. It's not the most, thing you look forward to. It's part of life. So you do it and you get it over with and you go on with your real business. So in the same way, our material life becomes like that. You take care of your material responsibilities. You still keep your relationships with those of you who are part of your life, but you're moving forward to the real goal of life, which is Prema Pumarta Mahat. You're developing the qualities that bring you to the point of actually attractions for Krishna and developing love for Krishna. And along with that comes knowledge and ultimate and unlimited happiness. So that's one of the other quality, the other characteristics that you can use as a barometer whether you're making advancement or not is that am I developing the qualities of a Vaishnava? Am I becoming humble? Am I becoming tolerant? Am I becoming patient? Am I becoming what we say undisturbed by happiness and distress? Am I developing a more simplified understanding of my life? Am I getting transcendental knowledge? Am I learning it? Can I apply it? This one is called one is called theoretical knowledge, and one is called realized knowledge. Realized knowledge is theoretical knowledge that is applied to our life, and then it becomes part of us. So Krishna consciousness will become a part of you. At the beginning, it's there, it's outside of you. You try to bring it in. But because it is you, when you bring it in, you become that. It's already you inside as the pure spiritual soul, because each living entity is pure spirit soul who is Krishna conscious or fully God conscious. So the process brings to you what you actually are. And as you're developing these qualities, you can see, oh, yes, I'm moving forward in spiritual life. You can use that as a barometer for, am I friendly? Am I becoming more friendly to people? This is one of the qualities. The devotee is friendly by nature. He doesn't, the devotee doesn't hate anyone. He might not associate with everyone, but he doesn't have hatred towards others because he sees everyone is a spirit soul. Therefore, they are also very dear to Krishna. So all of these qualities come through the process of bhakti, and using these as a way to understand your progress, and you can see what you also need to work on. Like, where am I lacking? Which qualities do I really need to lack? Am I becoming angry too fast? Or am I not becoming tolerant when I put in certain situations? Or am I eager to practice the activities of devotional service, or just do I look at the schedule and see what's happening? And then I look at my vacation program and see which one's more important. So, in other words, we start to actively look forward for spiritual activities. When we hear that there's a festival, devotees are coming, or there is some kirtan programs, there's activities in the temple. Even see that maybe I can also take part in the activities by taking up services in the temple during these activities, or even during the regular days. All of this, these are all certain characteristics which appear in the devotee's mind and heart, showing that they become eager for Krishna consciousness. So this enthusiasm and eagerness is somewhat synonymous. And the more we become eager, the more we also make progress in devotional service. Okay. And of course, again, back to the principle of patience. Krishna doesn't always give the results right away, but he always gives the results in due course of time. So there's takes a little bit of patience. And Prabhupada, again, just like the husband and wife want the child, everything's in place, but still, it takes some time for the child to appear. So, yeah, that's a perfect example of how one wants something, but still one has to be patient in order to reap the benefits. Yeah, one goes to university, they can't think, well, I'm going to graduate tomorrow. They got to go through the lessons, they have to take all of the tests, they have to show up for the final exam, all of these things. But then when the goal comes, it's all worth it. So, in the same way, all of the activities of devotional service are also the same as the results of devotional service. So that's why this whole process is, in all sense, it's joyful. We chant, when Prabhupada was asked in New York by one reporter, Swamiji, what do you get from chanting? Prabhupada said, we get chanting from chanting. In other words, as you continue to chant and develop a taste, then you just want to chant more. It becomes just part of you. Uh, so yeah, the results and the activities are practically the same. In the beginning, you do the activities as a feature of obedience to the process. But as you progress, then these same activities become an experience of devotion. Same activity doesn't change. The activity is the same. One time you're doing it in a mechanical way, and another time you're blissfully doing it. It's the same activities. That's how bhakti works. So don't get discouraged and see the activities as simply some material thing. They're not. All the activities of bhakti are gradually elevating your consciousness towards the ultimate goal, which is to be fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord in devotion. Okay, so we only have about 7 minutes left. Any questions, comments? I try to put a lot in a little bit of time. So, yes, Siddhartha.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a specific question about enthusiasm. From my personal experience, I gained a lot of enthusiasm, motivation, going to different programs, different retreats, meeting new devotees, the rickshaw, all that. But when I get home and when I'm with my family, I lose majority of that motivation. And like all the rounds that I like wanted to do, or like all the books that I read, they just escape my mind. And so I just wanted to ask some tips and tricks to increase your motivation when you're home and not have like external duties.
I'm going to have to ask your mother and father for permission to answer this question. Should I answer it? You may not like my answer. Move out. You're just gonna keep getting entangled in all of the affairs of the family, you know. Huh?
It's not because of the family.
Huh?
He come home. It's not because of the family that he's using it together.
Oh,
So he wants to make sure that how he can motivate himself, how that is together.
while he's home, environment is also an inspiration or something that can diffuse you. But yeah, you come back to your place and you hang out, and you just go back to doing some of the things you do when you're always at home. And then the spiritual things that you've been doing sort of take a backseat like that. The home provides a certain atmosphere, and then there's responsibilities like that. So when I said move out, I meant move up, not move out. So I can see you don't like being at home. You don't, really? Correct? Come on.
Not all the time.
I mean, I spend time at the family, so I know what's going on. So it sort of diffuses your spiritual activities somewhat. But I would suggest that you take part with the programs that your parents also organize, get involved in them. And also, even when there's no programs going on, take up a part of study. You're in a good position to learn right now. Because at a young age, when you really learn this philosophy, it'll stay with you your whole life. Sometimes devotees regret that when they first joined, they didn't spend enough time understanding and learning this philosophy. And later on in life, they kind of try to do it, but it becomes a lot harder when you get older. When you're young, you're more absorbent of this knowledge. And take up a study. Pick a particular scripture and just study it. And there's also study guides that can help you in that process. And then you can use your intelligence and also the time available to, develop that same enthusiasm that you have when you're not there. Yeah. But I don't know, sometimes people are not inclined to study, they're not inclined to activities. Because we all have our nature. There are devotees who could study all day, and there's devotees who can do service all day. And you'll see there's opposite natures. But there should be a balance between the two. There should be some balance. So, as a person you're going to university, right? So you're also studying. So try to find some time where you can also study these books. They're really, really deep, and you'll be amazed what you find when you study. That would be one thing like that. Uh, does the parents have any suggestions? Okay, so this is his good mother, Srimati. Her daughter is there. Where's your daughter? She's there. There's the other one.
Krishna, Maharaj. Yeah, for him, I feel that he should, usually we take family members light, we don't care much for them, like whatever they say, okay, they are saying all the time, okay, we do it later. That attitude is there, I feel that. So when outsiders or other devotees say anything, we do quickly, or we immediately follow that. So that's the mentality it is here, I feel. That's why enthusiasm is not there in the family.
Oh, so when you tell him to do something spiritual, it doesn't work.
Yeah. But other devotees, if they say, if you going to his mind.
Okay, so hire a person to speak to him. Or connect with somebody to do that. Yeah, I think it's just the mood of he's grown up, he's a man, he's not a child anymore, so he's grown up. And to be told by your parents what to do is like it's the last thing. But Chanakya Pandit says, this is how Chanakya Pandit says. He said from 0 to 5, you're very strict, not strict, but you are very lenient with the child. You make sure the child grows in the right way, but there's no time, there's no chastising in that time, those early years. From 6 to 14, very strict. Because that's the formative years. If you're not strict with young people from 6 to 14, they can develop the wrong habits, and they will. And then he says from 15 on, you become their friend. You have to stop treating them as your children, but you treat them as a grown-up adult in a more friendly way, and not in a parental way. But that's hard for parents to get away from that mood because that's what they know only. So yeah. So if you can, relate to your children more as friends rather than as children, you'll find they'll be more responsive in everything they do, Mhm.
Sure.
It's not easy because we're accustomed to do it in a certain way. But it works. This is Chanakya Pandit, and Prabhupada repeats this occasionally. And this is how we guide the young people. Even if you're right when you tell them what to do, because you tell them what to do, they can't do it. And even if they know you're right, it's just the way it is. Hare Krishna. It's just the psychology of growing up. Yes. Siddhartha, did we do it? Did we make any headway with that question?
I love that.
What did he say?
She exposed me a little bit. So.
But still, you're keeping up your battleground, right? Okay.
I experience a number of businesses related to experiences. Wanted take some guidance on the way to overcome the tendency to criticize others, like in the mind. When I see that even though fault may or may not be there, in any case, I'm not the one to correct that person or correct that fault. It's just after I see it, I feel like, why did I see it? Or why am I?
Well, that's mentioned. The Shastras say you can't help but seeing the faults in others sometimes. But then, rather than focusing on those faults, look for their good qualities. So see faults and good qualities side by side and focus on the good qualities and forget about the faults. It's not like you have to be blind and say, well, there's no fault. You can see it. Sometimes we see that. But if continue to think in that way, it just grows, and then then you become unhappy, or you become critical, and you may even commit an offense. So seeing faults and good qualities side by side is normal, but focus on the good qualities. Faults are not important. Just let them go. The faults of a person is the person's shadow. You're criticizing their shadow, not them. Because the living entity has all good qualities, and the shadow aspect of their existence is a reflection of their material tendencies, which is a shadow covering over the soul. But therefore, really, the soul is pure and perfect, it has no bad qualities. But because people are connected to the material energy, we see material faults, but they're not so important, just let them go.
Maharaj,
Unless those faults are threatening you in some way. Then you have to either distance yourself from that or try to say something that will diffuse the situation, but not in a critical way, but in a way to want to make a solution.
Maharaj, continue in this direction. What is the way to gauge whether I should say something to someone?
You have to understand what is your position with your relationship with that person. That's the first thing. What is my relationship with that person? And then from there you can determine. Parents, gurus, teachers can find fault with their followers, but they do it as a service to correct them, to bring them up. But if we don't have that relationship with a person, then if you still feel that there's some need to make something, then you have to do it in such a way that it doesn't agitate the situation. Usually I avoid it. It's not so important. Another person's fault. Unless it causes problems in the association of devotees. And then we have to make some. If someone is not acting properly in the temple, then you might have to explain to them what is the proper activity. That's all. But it should be done, and not in a critical way, but in a way that you're concerned about the person and not you're there just condemning it. If Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says something, this is really powerful. He says, listen to this. You should all listen. He says, if the faults of others disturb you, look inside yourself and see what about yourself is causing yourself to become disturbed. That's Bhakti Siddhanta. So the faults of others are disturbing us. What is it about me that's causing me to be disturbed by others' faults? That's hard, but still, it's the solution. Okay. All right, so we're on to, thank you for your time. We did a quick overview of the first three principles of favorable activities. And at 5 o'clock, we'll review this a little and then we'll go into the last three also. 5:30? Actually, yeah.